On July 23, 2025, the calm, shimmering waters of the Gulf of Oman were suddenly transformed into the backdrop for a tense and potentially explosive military standoff. What began as an ordinary day in this strategically vital waterway quickly escalated into a high-stakes encounter that captured the attention of the world. The main players in this unfolding drama were the American warship USS Fitzgerald, a symbol of U.S. naval power, and an Iranian SH-3 Sea King helicopter, representing Iran's determination to assert its presence. These two military assets, each bristling with technology and history, found themselves locked in a delicate dance, one that reflected decades of mistrust and rivalry between their nations. For nearly an hour, the encounter played out on the open sea, with both sides maneuvering carefully, aware that any miscalculation could have dire consequences. The standoff quickly sparked a war of words, with American and Iranian officials offering sharply contrasting accounts of what had transpired, each accusing the other of provocation. This incident did not occur in isolation. It unfolded just weeks after a brief but intense Iran-Israel war, a conflict that had drawn the United States directly into the fray. The region was still reeling from the aftershocks, with a fragile ceasefire barely holding and military forces on all sides remaining on high alert. In such a volatile and unpredictable environment, even what might seem like a routine military interaction can quickly spiral into a dangerous flashpoint. The crew aboard both vessels were on edge, scanning the horizon for any sign of escalation, knowing that a single misstep could ignite a much larger conflict. The central question remains, was this simply a standard encounter in international waters, as the U.S. maintains, or was it a calculated and provocative move by Iran, as Tehran insists? The truth, as always, is clouded by the fog of geopolitics and mutual suspicion. The release of video footage by Iranian media only intensified the debate, with each side seizing on the images to bolster their own narrative. Analysts and officials pored over every frame, searching for evidence to support their version of events, while the public watched anxiously. In the end, this single encounter serves as a vivid microcosm of the broader U.S.-Iran relationship, one defined by deep suspicion, frequent confrontation, and the ever-present risk that a single incident could trigger a much wider escalation. The world watches, hoping that cooler heads will prevail in these troubled waters. From the U.S. military's perspective, the Gulf of Oman incident was routine and professional. The USS Fitzgerald, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, was conducting a lawful mission in international waters, following established protocols. U.S. officials dismissed Iranian claims as misinformation, insisting the ship's mission was unaffected and that Iran was amplifying the event for political gain. The U.S. Central Command reinforced its commitment to safe operations, emphasizing that freedom of navigation is a cornerstone of global security. The American narrative, calm professionalism, no deviation from mission, and no provocation. By downplaying the incident, Washington aims to reassure allies and control the international narrative. For the U.S., this was a non-event, unnecessarily politicized by Iran. Iran's version tells a very different story, one of American provocation and Iranian resolve. Iranian state media claimed the USS Fitzgerald approached sensitive waters, testing Iran's surveillance and response. In this account, the Iranian helicopter was scrambled defensively, issuing warnings and demanding the U.S. ship change course. Iran alleges the U.S. warship threatened the helicopter, escalating the situation. The released video is framed as proof of Iranian authority and military readiness. Iranian media declared the encounter a victory, claiming the Fitzgerald was forced to leave. This narrative projects strength at home and sends a message to the region: Iran will not be intimidated. For Tehran, the incident is proof of its ability to defend its borders, even against a superpower. The Gulf of Oman is no ordinary body of water. Its significance stretches far beyond its shimmering blue surface. This narrow stretch of sea is a critical maritime crossroads where the interests of nations, economies, and militaries all intersect. For centuries, it has served as a gateway between East and West, a vital link in the chain of global trade and energy supply. It's a strategic choke point linking the vast Arabian Sea to the narrow Strait of Hormuz, through which nearly a fifth of the world's oil supply passes every day. The Gulf of Oman is the only maritime route connecting the oil-rich Persian Gulf states to the open ocean, making it indispensable for international commerce. The encounter took place in international waters, where the rules of navigation are governed by international law, but the reality on the water is shaped by power and presence. Its proximity to Iran makes any foreign military presence highly sensitive, as even routine patrols can be perceived as provocations or threats to national sovereignty. This Gulf is a vital artery for global oil shipments. Every day, massive tankers laden with crude oil and liquefied natural gas traverse these waters, fueling economies from Asia to Europe and beyond. Any disruption here, whether from conflict, piracy, or political tension, could send energy prices soaring, destabilize economies, and trigger ripple effects across global markets. The U.S. Navy patrols these waters to protect shipping lanes, deter threats, and reassure allies, maintaining a visible presence to ensure the free flow of commerce. Meanwhile, Iran sees these waters as its front yard, an extension of its territory and a crucial buffer for national defense, where it asserts its influence and monitors foreign activity closely. Iran's Revolutionary Guard operates here with a sense of mission, conducting exercises and patrols to demonstrate readiness and project power. They often use fast, agile boats to challenge larger foreign warships, testing boundaries and sending unmistakable signals of resolve. The convergence of global economic interests and regional military strategy makes the Gulf of Oman a perennial flashpoint, a place where the stakes are always high and the margin for error is razor-thin. The USS Fitzgerald and the Iranian helicopter met in this contested space, each side acutely aware of the risks and responsibilities that come with operating in such a tense environment. Here, every maneuver, every radio call, and every decision is loaded with geopolitical significance, watched closely by allies and adversaries alike. In the Gulf of Oman, a simple encounter can quickly become a symbol of rivalry and risk, a reminder that peace and conflict often sail side by side in these strategic waters. To understand the encounter, you need to know about international waters, areas beyond any nation's territorial sea, open to all for peaceful purposes. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea guarantees freedom of navigation, allowing both civilian and military vessels to operate lawfully. The U.S. Navy regularly conducts freedom of navigation operations to challenge excessive claims and uphold this principle. For Washington, the Fitzgerald's presence in the Gulf of Oman is a non-negotiable right. Iran, however, often interprets its security interests more broadly, monitoring areas beyond its official territorial waters. This creates a gray zone where differing interpretations can lead to tense encounters. The result: routine operations become flashpoints for friction and misunderstanding. The July 23 encounter can't be separated from the recent Iran-Israel war, which drew in the U.S. and left the region on edge. The echoes of that conflict still reverberate across the Persian Gulf, where every movement is watched and every decision carries enormous weight. Tensions simmer just below the surface, and the memory of recent violence lingers in the minds of both American and Iranian commanders. In June, U.S. airstrikes targeted Iran's nuclear program, destroying key sites and deepening animosity. The strikes were a clear message: the U.S. would not tolerate further escalation. But for Iran, the attacks were a violation of sovereignty, fueling anger and a determination to respond. The destruction of nuclear infrastructure has only hardened positions on both sides, making compromise seem even more remote. The ceasefire that followed is fragile, and every military move is scrutinized. Diplomats and military leaders alike know that a single miscalculation could reignite open conflict. The world watches anxiously, hoping that cooler heads will prevail, but uncertainty hangs over every negotiation and patrol. On the day of the encounter, Iran's President Pezeshkian delivered a defiant speech, vowing to continue the nuclear program and prepare for any future war. His words were met with cheers at home and concern abroad, signaling that Iran would not back down under pressure. The government's resolve is clear. They see themselves as standing up to foreign aggression, determined to defend their interests at any cost. For Iran, the U.S. destroyer's presence so soon after airstrikes is inherently provocative. It's seen as a show of force, a reminder of American military reach, and a challenge that cannot go unanswered. Iranian commanders are under pressure to respond, but know that any misstep could have dire consequences. For the U.S., it's about reassuring allies and deterring further Iranian aggression. American commanders must balance the need to project strength with the risk of escalation. Every maneuver is calculated, every message carefully crafted to avoid misunderstanding, yet still demonstrate resolve. Both sides are on high alert, operating with heightened suspicion. The atmosphere is thick with mistrust, and even routine patrols are fraught with danger. Every signal, every movement is analyzed for hidden meaning, as both sides brace for the unexpected. The peace is delicate, maintained by deterrence and wary calculation. Diplomacy and military posturing go hand in hand as leaders try to avoid war while preparing for its possibility. Trust is scarce, and every agreement is shadowed by doubt. In this climate, even minor incidents can spiral dangerously out of control. The world holds its breath, hoping that this fragile peace can endure, but knowing that the margin for error is vanishingly thin. The Fitzgerald incident is just the latest in a long line of U.S.-Iran military encounters in these strategic waters. For decades, the Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman have seen close calls, fast Iranian boats swarming U.S. warships, tense standoffs, and risky maneuvers. These incidents spike during periods of heightened tension, like nuclear disputes or regional wars. Each encounter carries the risk of miscalculation. A single mistake could trigger a wider conflict. The 2016 capture of U.S. sailors by Iran is a stark reminder of how quickly things can escalate. The July 2025 incident is the first direct clash since the Iran-Israel war, making it especially sensitive. Both militaries are on edge, and the rules of engagement are tighter than ever. The pattern is clear. These encounters are a barometer of deep-seated distrust. At the heart of the Gulf of Oman incident is a battle of narratives. The U.S. frames the event as calm professionalism, upholding international law and reassuring allies. Iran casts it as a defensive victory, proof of its strength and sovereignty after recent airstrikes. Each side tailors its story for different audiences: Washington for the world, Tehran for its people and the region. Video footage becomes ammunition in this information war, each side claiming it supports their version. Decades of hostility mean every action is viewed with suspicion. Objective truth is elusive. In this environment, perception is as important as reality. The real contest is over who controls the story, and by extension, the strategic advantage. The Gulf of Oman encounter is a stark warning. When rival militaries operate in close quarters, the risk of disaster is real. Conflicting narratives and frayed communication make miscalculation more likely. Military-to-military deconfliction lines are vital to prevent routine encounters from turning deadly. Beyond immediate safety, the incident highlights the urgent need for broader diplomatic efforts. Leaders must balance strength with restraint, avoiding provocations and inflammatory rhetoric. Lasting stability depends on dialogue, not posturing. The safety of sailors, the global economy, and regional peace all hinge on choosing communication over confrontation.